Wait, I didn't know what other thing was playing, but anyways, hi guys, welcome to another episode of ThriveCasters. I'm joined today by these usual lot, and we're going to be talking about whether women are really safe, especially following on from the tragic death of Sarah earlier on this month. So yeah, I think it's best if we go to Adam because he's more familiar with the timeline.
So the incident which started 2 weeks ago is about a female who got raped and murdered in London. Her name was Sarah Everard, and on the 3rd of March she was seen leaving her friend's house in Clapham to go home in Brixton. On the 6th of March, the Met Police released an appeal for her missing, which caused alarm and distress to everyone, including like family and friends. On March the 7th, she got seen on a camera outside a house walking in Brixton, along with they released what she was wearing. On the 8th of March, they sent out sniffer dogs, and they made a search team go out and find her. They couldn't find her, and on the 9th March of evening, a police officer was arrested in connection to Mrs. Everard's disappearance, along with a female who was living in the same house as him, as she was getting arrested for under suspicion of, helping the police officer with the crime. 10th of March, there was an interview, and he admitted to raping and murdering the Mrs. Everard, and that's why we're here today.
Yeah, thank you, Adam. I think the best way to start would just to be open up the floor to how it made you feel. Maybe start with one of the females to speak about how it made you feel hearing the tragic death.
Personally, to me, it made me feel like if someone in power can do that, who can you really trust? It's like a lot of people, although there's been problems, put their faith in the police, and then for someone on the force to do that, it makes people like me personally, makes you think like, wow, you can't really trust even the people that are supposed to be protecting us. So that's a bit troubling for some young people because that's who you'd go to when something's wrong. So that's obviously terrible, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. I just wanted to go quickly off Chloe's point. It's just some of the things that we brought up in our podcast as well. It just has something to do with like not being able to trust the police again, and it's just another example of like something that can happen to start off a protest for something, or us just not trusting the police and making stuff more difficult, for young people especially. But yeah, what are you saying?
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same. Like, I think this whole situation just confirmed to a lot of people that the police need a lot of work, and for now, especially, it's not the best time to even trust them, and which is just really sad because there are people out there, vulnerable people out there who did need their help, but because of situations like this, where we all see that sometimes police cover up police's bad actions. So it's like, if we can't go to you, then what can we do? Because now we're left to kind of like sort out our own crimes within the community, which just kind of puts like a bad name on the police and then a bad name on the community because it's like you're meant to go to but the police can't help you. So it's just like an endless cycle, I would say.
So what do you think about it then, Sophie?
When I heard the news, I was honestly shocked. Like, it's quite scary, but at the same time, like it was horrible because like the death was shocking, but at the same time, like it's kind of like how often does things like this happen? It's quite scary to know that like how many females go through this, and it isn't like put in the media and stuff like that. So I feel like it just shocked us a lot, and it made us rethink, and it makes you worry about like me as a female and people around us as a female, because you don't know, one day like you could be the unlucky one, and it hits close to home when it's such an innocent lass, especially when she was from Durham as well. So it's quite sad up here, but yeah.
So like, I don't know. this whole incident happened in like South London, Brixton, yeah. But like we don't live in these areas, so like, do you guys feel unsafe to like even go around in your areas because of something like this has happened, and it's just like becoming more common anyways?
Yeah, it
Like, this is
definitely
a generic
happens in
question.
sorry. But it definitely happens in more places. There's just always one story that gets more coverage because it's like the tipping point. But there's a lot of things going around in West Midlands as well. Like if you look it up, you see maybe not your area, but an area nearby. Things similar to this happen like monthly or maybe every other month, but it's still more than it should ever be happening. Yeah.
It's true. I was gonna kind of add on to what she said and say that for me, I would say that because I know my area, things like that, I don't want to say that it couldn't happen because I know that things like that would happen. But I would say that if I was someone that used the public transportation as I used to before, I remember most of the times like I would either pretend to call my mum or I'd actually call her if I felt like shuffling behind me and stuff like that. But since I started driving, it has become easier to kind of like walk around the streets and everything. But even with that, I've been seeing stuff on like Instagram and everything where like there's people who are genuinely like, as soon as you get into the car, there's someone trying to get into your car, like into the back seat behind you as well. So that kind of created more fear within me where I'm just like, okay, cool, now I need to start locking my car as soon as I get into my car kind of thing. So I don't know whether safety is here and real nowadays. It's more like even if you're driving, even if you're using public transportation, even the train, even the bus, whatever it is, like regardless, there's always going to be predators around. So safety has just come into question nowadays.
So is there like, I don't know, would you say there's like a generic fear for men then? Because like, if we're speaking statistically, like most of these things happen to women, and I don't know the statistics off by heart, but like this happens to more women than it does to men. And then it's like starting to bring up more issues like the 6 p.m. curfew, which we're hopefully gonna get onto in a minute, and just like other people posting stuff online with them saying like protect your protect your children and educate men, because something like this is like it's really common these days. I don't know. What do you guys think? This is to the guys as well.
I saw that post and sorry, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think what you said about it happens to men too, I don't think that's the issue at the moment. It's like when the whole George Floyd situation was going on, people were kind of defending themselves and defending others by saying, oh, you can be racist to white people too. But that's not the problem that's at hand. I think that's just more of an excuse rather than anything. In regards to, I'd like to bring something else up as well, actually, which has become quite a defence from a lot of men in particular. A lot of men have responded to the kind of incident and other girls' posts on their social media, etc., and said it's not all men. It's not all men, and that's kind of a recurring phrase that's been going around. What does everybody think of that? And then I'll kind of say my opinion on kind of that phrase.
Personally, I think we know that it's not all men because every female has a male friend or relative and you trust them. But I feel like there's no need to say that unless you're defensive about it, unless you're feeling guilty about anything. What you should do, in my opinion, support the people around you going through similar things, help people around you feel safe. There's no need to defend yourself when nobody has accused you. Unless someone has said something to you lying on your name or something, there's no need to ever say things like that. Because as you said, it's just like before, people aren't talking about the problem and getting involved in things that don't need to be involved. Yeah.
Can I
That's
say,
actually so perfect because
yeah. So I let out a survey yesterday for the full day. And it's been like shared on my story. I think Chloe shared it, and everyone here had answered it. It's been on my Instagram as well. So there were 3 main questions which I asked, and I want everyone's opinion on this. So the first question was, what gender do you think is more vulnerable to sexual assault? 30 people said female are, 2 people said male are, and 11 people said both genders are. The second question was, do you think there should be a 6 p.m. curfew for all men, which followed the meeting which happened in Parliament? 3 people said yes, and 44 people said no. The third question was, do you think there should be a 6 p.m. curfew only for people who have had an offence for any type of public misconduct and assault? 35 people said yes, and 11 people said no. So can I have everyone's opinion on these statistics which I found out? Well, yeah.
I kind of don't really understand the whole aspect of the curfew, and I say that because, like, if you're a predator, you're gonna be a predator regardless of the time, the day, and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's just gonna happen. There was a story the other day in London where a guy literally just grabbed a girl in broad daylight and tried to kidnap her in broad daylight. Like, these people who do this kind of thing, they don't have a time schedule. They don't have, like, that's not in their head. You get it? If they want to go out and rape someone, if they want to go out and like abuse someone or do whatever it is that they're gonna do it regardless of where it is that they are. So even the person that suggested that have a 6 p.m. curfew, I understand what you're trying to do, and I understand the message that you're trying to get across about how dangerous these people are and that they should be watched and stuff like that. But you never know a predator until they reveal themselves, until they have a regard of time. Let me just say that. So I understand the statistics and everything, but if you really want to, like, stop the predating and all that kind of stuff, it's going to take a lot more than just a curfew, if that makes sense.
I totally agree with that personally. In regards to the 6 p.m. curfew, I do not agree with it, but in terms of people on kind of a sex offending list or crimes in the past to do with any sort of rape or anything, I think that curfew could definitely be put into place. But it also leads to my point earlier about not all men. These women that say all men, I don't think they're not kind of saying all men rape. They're not saying all men are sexual assaulters. I think the message they're trying to get to the world really is that it's all men that they're scared of when they walk out. It's because you can't go into the street and point out a rapist or point out a sex offender. If any of the lads here were walking behind a female in the street, she may still feel intimidated and scared, no matter the circumstance. So I think that when women say all men, they're not referring to all men as being rapists or sexual assaulters, but rather all men that they potentially could be scared of.
Yeah, I fully agree with that one, Lucy.
Yeah.
Sorry. I think it's just a thing of misinterpreting, because I definitely did that when I first heard about this whole thing. I thought, like, women were saying all men, like they meant every single man, but they didn't mean that. And I understood that after speaking to some of my female friends about it. And at the end of the day, I'm all for, like, promoting stuff, whatever it may be, to, like, make sure women feel safe on the streets, because, like, I don't know how it feels personally being a guy who's, like, walking down wherever, and then, like, feels uncomfortable around other men like that. But, like, honestly, it could be like Nathan said, it's different for everyone. Like, women might feel that all the time, even if it's, like, between us and, like, whatever the circumstances may be. It's just different. But it's just, like, although something should definitely be done, I don't know if anything can be, because, like, the curfew to me just sounds a bit stupid, because I fully understand the what you're trying to get out there, and what you're trying to get out of this curfew. But then there's also a lot of backlash from it, like because many people work like after 6 p.m. or like many people need to get to places like to see family or like anything like that. Yeah, there's also these factors that we have to take into account, and I don't know if it's a thing where it's like all men, like every single guy has to stay in after 6 p.m. But then not only is that just going to affect people's mental health, but it's like kind of it's just a bit weird for me because it's like I haven't done anything to like assault anyone, and it's like I have to take responsibility for someone else's thing, if you know what I'm like someone else's actions, if you know what I mean. So I feel like staying wouldn't really be beneficial, but I still see the point that females are trying to get out there, and definitely something should be done about it. But I don't think the curfew is the best thing to do about it. If you see what I'm saying.
What do you guys think about the reaction to the curfew? Because personally, me and my friends never really thought it was going to happen. It was more like a hypothetical thing. But after people hearing about it, obviously there's some people, women and men, talking. I don't know how to explain what I'm saying. But what do you guys think about the reaction to it?
I would say that the biggest misconception about the whole 6 p.m. curfew thing is I don't like it was more of a theoretical thing, and I feel like it was more about a power move in the sense of like, okay, so you're innocent and now you're getting punished for something you haven't necessarily done or deserve. So then it's flipped as in like, how do you think women feel when they're walking down the street or doing absolutely nothing wrong, and they're getting made to feel like that they deserve it? And I feel like what it is, if anything, everyone's going, no, it's not all men. But then the way they've reacted, like, why are people more bothered about like how they might get their human rights taken when women have never had the feeling of walking on the street and feeling safe? I feel like it's one of them things. I feel like it's more about discomfort and making them feel like how we feel every day when we leave the house, and I feel like it's about that. So I feel like it's more about, even if you're innocent, even if you're sitting there and you're like, oh well, I've never done anything wrong, it's about, well, why haven't you spoke up? Why can't you speak? You stopped your friend when he said that comment, or you know what I mean? It's all about that. So yeah, I think it was more about making lads feel discomfort. And yeah, so what about, so in terms of a lad's point of view, how did like you feel when you heard about like all this? Like, did it make you feel uncomfortable and stuff? Like, yeah, you know.
Yeah, well, it made me personally feel uncomfortable because obviously you've heard about the grooming gangs in Rotherham and all that as well, especially with, like, I don't want to bring race into it, but it was, the thing that happened in Rotherham was more about Asians in, you know, chip shops and all that, just raping little girls. This is technically the same, but it was a white police officer. Yeah, I think he's gonna be let off, like, because there's this book which like the Metropolitan Police carry, which has all the offences police officers have created, and with their offences they get less time than a normal, you know, public servant. It made me feel uncomfortable and very angry because what the thing that makes me question what is going through their, you know, what is going through their head to think like that, like, yeah. Can I let out a statement which is in the YouTube comments by someone called Cheyenne Long? She said, I feel like a lot of the fear may come from the men who catcall or make sexual comments, and because they can't tell if a man will stop at catcalling or if he will act further. As you can see, the comment is on the screen as well.
100% agree with her. Just recently, I had a friend driving, minding her business, and a man followed her. So she had to change her journey, and he decided that he just wanted to tell her how good he looked after following her for 20 minutes. And there's a lot of other girls, like you've had a situation with a girl not giving a guy her phone number, so he decided to stab her. And that is what gets people scared. Some people might think catcalling is a nice way to compliment someone, but instead it just brings fear into a woman. So yeah.
I don't know if it's a thing to do with like just pedophilia in general, because I know people are trying to like make it mainstream and say, oh yeah, but it's like a mental health thing, which could be a factor to it, but still like something definitely needs to be done. But like in terms of what Sophie was saying, like, and like the whole reaction to the 6 p.m. curfew, I feel, I don't know, if you, because Sophie was looking at it as like a threat to men, to make us feel the same discomfort that women do, and I totally understand that. But I feel like it would be unfair for the innocent people to have to go through something like that in a way, because like that's why I was saying the whole curfew thing wouldn't work, because if there was a thing where like police could go out and like arrest all the people who could like sexually assault people, then they would have done it already. That's why I'm saying like the whole thing, because they say not all men. They refer to all like rapists, for example, but then all men would have to suffer for this curfew. If you see what I'm trying to say. And in terms of catcalls, it's just I don't see why people do it. I don't know if it's a thing mentally, um, but like it's something that needs to be taken into account, like the mental issue. I'm not trying to stand up for men, but we do see issues of like some people performing acts that have happened to them, if you see what I'm trying to say. So that's something that definitely needs to be taken into account.
I actually wanted to add on to what you were talking about, the what's it called, the curfew thing, right? Like I was gonna add on to what Chloe said and say that I feel like the way that it works, it might get worse for women who actually live with these predators, because I feel like if we as females, we have close guy friends, right, but they don't always tell us everything, and whatever they do like with other girls and stuff like that may be different to how they treat other girls may be different to how they treat their female friends. So for example, if we now give if men are now given a curfew to say, okay, cool, no men are allowed at this times, what if that is now resulting in them abusing the women in their own families, in their own houses? For example, their sisters, their nephews, their nieces and stuff like that, or nephews too, they go that way. But like, it might just be that these predators end up doing something closeted, and now you have people in homes who are now unable to go and speak out because the younger brother or older brother or uncles or fathers or dads or whoever it is that they live with are doing it to them, and not out there doing it to other people, like say into clothes and stuff like that. Because I've also seen that what they're planning to do is that they're planning on having policemen who went into clubs and basically police and try to protect women, but it's the same policeman that ended up raping the girl, Sarah, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but who ended up doing that to Sarah. So it's like there's no win-win situation here. Basically, I don't know if you guys get what I'm trying to say.
I would just like to add on to that in regards to the 6 p.m. curfew. I see the idea behind it, but I don't agree with it for about 2 reasons. Number one, I think that it just won't work. You have men working night shifts, they've got to travel to and from work. You've got men wanting to, go and get a Mackey's or visit their parents, or when lockdown's over, going to the pub. And also, the second reason, if it was to take place and a woman was walking in the street at night and she was to see a man, I feel like she'd be more scared and intimidated. And I think that'd be more of a problem then. I think that'd kind of make the situation worse rather than better. Another thing is, I've just seen a comment from Lewis. I don't know whether it's on YouTube or... Oh, it's on YouTube. He says that the problem is the so-called men who think that they deserve to do what they kind of want and what they do. This comment just here. And I totally agree with that. I think that kind of if the support from men continues and carries on and more men are willing to support, the problem will definitely decrease. To support, I think that if you walk in behind a woman in the street, cross the road, I'll consider that kind of support. If you post something on one of your social media stories, kind of about women women's rights or your opinion. Your opinion that is kind of ethical and moral rather than discriminatory. I think that's kind of support. And I think, as I say, with more men and more women putting those things out there, the problem can be gradually reduced.
So on that topic of the solution, this is a question for the girls really. What do you guys think is the best way forward? What is the solution? Is it crossing the road? Is it a curfew? What do you think needs to be done?
I think some of these things start from young. So when it comes to little things from catcalling and whistling at a girl, I feel like if boys, not just boys, but if people were told this from younger ages and it wasn't so like engraved and normalized in society, that would help, because the younger you learn things, also people need to lead by example, the more it's put into your brain. I'm not really sure too much what a solution could be, but just for a little thing like that could help.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think it does a lot of things to start with education. I feel like we've also got to remember at the same time, like maybe this isn't like the most positive thing to say, but you've got to remember like a lot of damage has been done because of this, and I feel like there's a lot of anger, and when people are angry, they want someone to blame, and like it's about moving forward, but not taking away people's pain and trauma and like acting like, oh, it's fine, like we're gonna move forward. Because I know for me, like I'm angry, like I'm annoyed, like from the age of like 12, to learn how to carry your keys in your hand, or the fact that you've got to learn not to walk home with both your headphones in. Like I'm angry and I don't know how to get rid of, like how I'll be able to get rid of the anger, because like I'm angry for other females, my sister, anyone else. And I feel like what it is, it's about moving forward, but at the same time you've got to remember that people are angry, and this isn't something that's just going to go away overnight when you tell a man to cross the road on the other side, because this is deep trauma, and females aren't going to forget what has happened to like people they know, and mainly 97% of women, it's happened to themselves. So I feel like we need to remember that moving forward.
Can I talk about this question which is right now on the screen from Cheyenne Long? So she's from America, and she says, so I don't know how things are in England, but I'm sure that if someone wanted to sexually assault someone else, a curfew wouldn't work, so they would just break into the person's house. She also says there needs to be more education for both women and men, because men and women can be on both sides of the situation, which is a comment she just put down right now. So what is everyone's views on that?
That's the point that I was trying to make before, that you can't stop a predator that will do what they want to do regardless of the situation, the time, or anything. So for example, if there was a curfew for them, now you're just putting the people that they live with in danger, and obviously that's not something that we want. We don't want them to do any of this kind of, but you have vulnerable people, like they have families, they have sisters, they have nephews, they have like a family that they live with. Do you get it? So if they wanted to do it, they'll be doing it. It's just that now at this point, you're kind of placing them in a position where the only option, because if you're a predator already, you're not really going to stop yourself just because, oh yeah, there's a curve. As bad as this sounds, you're now putting the family in danger, and they shouldn't be the ones taking it. Like they shouldn't be the ones that are receiving it more. There should be something in place done, like some kind of rehabilitation center. Like when we were talking before, we are saying that, you know, what can we do? Like, is it hurting people? Is it something that they learned? Is it something that comes from within them? What can we actually do apart from just trying to physically stop them? What can we do to help them mentally, emotionally, psychologically and stuff like that?
Yeah, so
That's why.
we all agree.
Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. That's why I don't really see what people are saying. Educate educate the boys and put them in a curfew, because then it's just the two things that's like, I don't know, because thinking about it, not all of the things have been considered when they were talking about the curfew. Because like Nathan was saying earlier, some people work night shifts and like people just want to go out. Maybe they're on a bad night, go to the pub or something, yeah, and then like they're not allowed because of this curfew. It's just, I don't know. It's not really gonna be good for men if something like that happens. Definitely, we should all be educated on it 100% because this thing is becoming more common every single day, and it's only stuff like this when it happens to somebody that is more commonly known, then it gets like bigger and then starts all of this. But I don't know. I don't really know how to describe it. It's just
I personally think if a curfew was to happen, if a sexual predator has the mindset that they do, what makes you think that they're going to stick to a curfew? You know what I mean? And I think that's the borderline, the bottom line. I'd also like to point out that, yes, the whole Sarah Everard case was deliberate, but a lot of rape is done by men in particular that kind of don't sit in their house, get ready, and say, I'm going to rape someone today. It's kind of done. I don't know how to describe it without kind of getting the wrong intention from everybody. I think what I'm trying to say is that the men go out to a club, go out to the pub, and then it's kind of just the whole rape thing, the whole sexual assault is kind of a heat of the moment type thing, rather than them planning ahead. If you know what I mean.
If it's not premeditated, rape, then let's call it that. And it's just rape that happens in an instant. It's still rape at the end of the day. And as someone that you've done that and you know that it's wrong, regardless of what it is, regardless of whether you're sober, drunk, or whatever, if a person is saying no to you and they look like they're in distress, straight away that should alarm you and say to you, you know what, I need to stop because I'm hurting this person. What men do is that in their head they think that it's foreplay. This is where porn comes in, and porn is like a bad effect, like it has negative effects when it comes to people, because you have a lot of porn actors acting out scenarios, fake scenarios, saying, oh, you know, tie me up, do this and this to me, blah blah blah. Then when it comes to real life situations, men, just men but women too, but men think that, oh, she's just, and this is what I saw in the porn video, that kind of thing, right? That is still not right for you to kind of say, okay, cool. Not you personally, but for men to say, what's it called? This is wrong. This is not wrong. I should just carry on. It's okay for me to do this, even though she's saying no with her body language, with her face, with her mouth, and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's still rape at the end of the day. And I feel like the point where it comes in is taking accountability for what you did. If you think that what you did was wrong, but you didn't realize it at the time, it's now up to you to take accountability and responsibility to go up to the person or to go up and admit to what you've done. And I feel like porn kind of a big part in non-premeditated rape, if that's what we want to call it for now. But porn is kind of like a really big disadvantage when it comes to like real life scenarios and everything. But that's just, yeah, just
to kind of add to that, I when I said that, I kind of wasn't defending rapists in any sense or anything like that. I was just saying that I think that a lot of cases aren't premeditated, but it's still rape at the end of the day, and it's still wrong.
Yeah, in terms of everything generally, I think the only thing that we can do is educate people, because like, and when I say this, I'm not in no means defending men, yeah, but like we still have to consider that some men do get raped as well. I'm not saying that like it happens more, because it definitely happens more to, like, it's proven statistically that it happens to women more, but it does happen to men as well, and it's just not spoken upon that much. So I feel like educating everybody about everything that's going on is the best thing that we can do, because in terms of consequences, like, that's pretty much the only thing that we can do. Like, as well as a rehabilitation center that someone was saying earlier. That's also a good idea, but I don't think like locking people up, giving them a curfew is really going to help anything. Because then again, like, what the consequence is going to be if a man breaks that curfew, or like people are going to break it anyway. If you see what I mean. So yeah.
Yeah, 100%. In some cases as well, the thing that you're saying that you need to educate everyone is true, because there were like things that people didn't understand with sexual assault. Like someone was explaining that they didn't think they were part of the 97% until people mentioned small things like even being like having your bum slapped, or holding someone's waist when they don't want to be, or like just little things like that. Both men and women, like people don't know they've been sexually assaulted sometimes until it's too late, and that's why it does need to be talked about a bit earlier, because certain adults might be uncomfortable with teaching younger people that, but it's always better to teach them when it's younger, unless before it's like too late and they've already done it and they didn't understand, and now there's a lot of people suffering from it. Yeah.
Can I bring up an article which I've seen last week about what rapists see in people, as in what they look for in a potential victim? Because this article is by someone called Nina Susan Thomas, who is a journalist, and she interviewed a group of rapists who are convicted and in prison. So the rapist said they look for potential victims in hairstyle, for example. Hair, they look for people who have ponytails, messy buns, any buns or hair they can grab onto easily to control the female. The second thing is clothing, so like crop tops, shorts, and all that. And obviously, they want to take clothes off without any struggle, and they usually carry scissors as well, just to rip off the clothes. The third thing is like if they're distracted, for example, using their cell phone, like mobile phone, doing something like looking in their handbag or something, as they are really easy to control and overpower. And the fourth thing is like they find a good place to abduct them. For example, if they're walking past an alleyway, they're walking past a little field where it's like pitch black, by public toilets, and they always like check out the surrounding location to make sure no one is there. And yeah, and they said they would never pick someone who is carrying, for example, an umbrella or something, and that can be used to defend themselves. And they say, how people put their keys in like between their fingers as a deterrent. They say that doesn't work for them. Like they'll easily, overpower them. So from this article, which I've been reading about it, they go for people who look more vulnerable and more easy to manipulate. If you get what I'm saying, what's everyone's point on?
That being said, though, I'd just like to add that rape, like many excuses from rapists and from people that kind of want to defend that. But she was wearing a short skirt, but she was wearing tight jeans. But at the end of the day, short skirts don't cause rape. Tight jeans don't cause rape. What causes rape is rapists.
Yeah, I think I just also would want to add is that I feel like lists
That's
like that,
true.
although might be from a psychologist or like a criminal, but yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. Like from their point of view, it's like it might be interesting to look into, but at the same time, I feel like writing a list of things that make you more vulnerable is kind of insensitive to victims or people who've been, because you're like, no disrespect to you, Adam, like it's the article, but like if you're saying, oh, if you wear a messy bun or a ponytail, like imagine how you'd feel if, like, for example, you'd been sexually assaulted in a ponytail, and basically it's like goes back to how which is always it's like you change the way you wear your hair, you change how you hold your keys. Like, it's like, how about we change the people that are doing it rather than changing what we're wearing? Like, fair enough, it might, like, maybe their brains think like that, but it doesn't mean that we should have to change the way we look, dress, how we act, just because some men think it's all right to do what they want. And I just think that's mind-boggling, to be honest. But yeah.
I
And to be honest,
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say it's actually just disgusting in the first place that there's any excuses for rape. There should be no excuses, yeah. No matter what the person's wearing. No, there's no excuses, yeah. Girls shouldn't. It's disgusting to think about that girls have to change the way that they look or what they want to wear, or like certain things that they do like in their everyday lives, just so they can stay like safer from people like this. Which is why I feel like promoting education is the best thing that can be done, because it's like it really shouldn't be that way. Like I hate it more than anything when my friends are telling me about how they just don't feel comfortable even just going down to the shop down the road because of stuff like this happening, and like creepy people on the road or whatever. Like it shouldn't be like that. It's just there is no excuse for rape. Flipping wearing certain clothes, yeah, just because you might like the way that they look does not give you an excuse to go over there and do anything to that person, okay?
there is
agree
no
with
excuse for rape. Sorry, go on.
I agree with obviously Jenny, Sophie, and Nathan's point, because the rapists got interviewed, who got interviewed, like that's what they look for. Not like, I'm not trying to say that, you know, like for example, I don't care what a girl wears. Like they can wear whatever they want. You don't cause me a problem. Like it doesn't show. Clothing doesn't define like you know, you want sex or something like that. They can wear whatever they want. I would say like these pedophiles and rapists don't listen to what the like the females or the males they rape say. For example, they say no, that means no, but they won't listen to that. They want to do it for their own sexual intention. Can I bring up Lewis Parker, where it says putting tags on them be safer as it will track them like they do for people on home arrest, be more effective than a curfew, which will stop them from reoffending. I agree with that point, because if you think about it, if you're walking alone and you see a tag on them, you know they mean danger, which means you can, well, that means you will be aware that they are there. However, yeah, basically that.
A tag might also, not that I'm defending any of them, might cause problems, because now if someone's seeing that tag, they might go out of their way to attack that person who's already tried to have redemption or something. So maybe something similar to that might work, but maybe so it's like in a government program, not really public to people. But yeah, when it's already in someone's mindset, it's always hard to come up with a solution for something like that, because you'd have to psychologically change the person, and you don't even know who you need to change.
When they said tag, though, did they mean kind of like a tracking tag? Because that's what they might have meant. That kind of a tracking.
If
think
so,
that
then
kind
yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, I think that kind of a tracking tag would be more beneficial, because if kind of a rape was to happen and police could see that they'd been in the area at the same time, then they can kind of find who the rapist is.
Yeah. Are you saying that would like go like an app that people can download on their phones or something? Because that'd be good, and it just makes people feel safer at the end of the day. Because it's gonna get to the point where it's like when everything's back open like, after COVID and whatever, like people going to the beach, yeah, or like people just going to like public swimming pools or whatever. It's gonna like females are gonna be worried and scared just for going to places like that. Like people shouldn't be scared to go to the beach. Like even if they want to go abroad, yeah, on holiday, like I don't know what it's like in other countries, but like still the same thing occurs. Um, if people want to go to the beach, they're gonna feel worried and scared because they're gonna be wearing like swimsuits and stuff, yeah, which is like revealing which as Adam was saying is an intent for rapists to do what they do. But I've never like this thing has been very educational for me because I've never like thought of anything like that. I've never like been in the head of a rapist. So like just hearing it, especially from stuff online, just makes me think that like it makes me want to promote it more, like education and rehab, because like it's gonna get to a point where like just going anywhere in public is gonna be very dangerous for some people, you know.
Has anyone like in this, podcast come across an app which could help, identify where most rape has happened, knife crime and anything like that, so people feel safe around that area?
Yeah, I actually have an app that I was talking about. One of my friends showed us the other day. It's called Walk Safe, I think. And it basically just like tracks like your location stuff, and it'll show like where you are. So like in my area, my street will be there, and it'll show like different points on the map of where like different crimes have been like reported. So it might say sexual assault or knife crime or anything like that, and it has them on. So like say it might say this happened 2 days ago, so you might be thinking, oh, well, I might as well avoid that area just to be safe. And it's really good. It's you can also like tune it in with your friends or family. So say like you're walking home and stuff, your mom or whoever your guardian or whatever can like track it. Also, it just makes it's like in the back of your head, so it makes you feel a bit safe. And even if you're a male, you don't necessarily have to be a female. If you're a male and you're scared about knife crime or anything like that, or you got sisters or whatever you want to look at, apps like that, or like I uncovered it the other day, and I was like, yeah, that's good. So yeah, I recommend everyone to get it. It's called Walk Safe. Just to repeat.
I don't know if there's any more points that anyone wants to say, but definitely more apps like this should be made, or like even Walk Safe should be promoted, because I didn't know about that. But definitely, I'm gonna tell my friends about this, and hopefully it gives them more like of a sense of security, you know, because I don't really know what I can do right now to like keep them reassured, because right now everything that's going on is just stupid, isn't it? But yeah, definitely stuff like this should be promoted, because I didn't know about it. So yeah.
To kind of summarize then, I'd say all of us have kind of learned something today. I'd say in particular, more so the lads. I think that in terms of a curfew, we all kind of don't disagree with it, but don't think that it's kind of a possible solution. I think we were all very level-headed when it comes to rape being bad, rape being the wrong thing, and I think that we all kind of have very valid opinions, rather than kind of dumb opinions. So our opinions are quite thought out, valid, and kind of the right opinions. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. It doesn't mean that everyone's opinion is right, but particularly with all of you, I think that we've got quite a thought out opinion, and that's everything I've got to say.
Yeah, just to conclude, I thought it would be a good idea for all go and share like one little thing that they're gonna do moving forward of how to like help the problem, or what they're gonna change about the way they do. Like I'll start, for example, and I'd say that I'm going to make sure that if I witness any sort of like verbal abuse or anything like that towards females, I'm gonna be compliant and be like, God, like, because I'll be honest and admit that like maybe I wasn't as vocal as other people were being like subjective, especially within like a school environment. So I'd say that for mine, it would probably be to speak out for maybe females or anyone who doesn't feel like they have a voice. So yeah, if anyone else wants to share what they're going to change or just think about moving forward.
I think for us guys, one thing we could do is just call out other guys if we're at a party, at a club, even if you don't know them, just go up to them and just confront them. That's the best way to sort of stop that from happening and make others feel more comfortable.
Also, cross the road when you're behind a woman. All the little support is definitely a solution.
I would say all of us as a collective group, and obviously viewers and other people, I think we need to raise more awareness about this as well. as it's not always shown on the news. Because if you think about it, it is a very sensitive subject for people to talk about, but we need more people, for example, victims, to speak about what's happened and bring the rapists and the suspects to justice who, in cause of this, if you get.
Yeah, I know I've been saying it this whole podcast. It's probably getting annoying now, but just to say one more time, I feel like promoting everything and educating everyone is the best thing to do, because I didn't know that girls had to do most things, like the way they hold their keys, or like Sophie said, walk with one earphone out or stuff like that. I didn't know you guys had to do that, and it's just like these little incompetent things that just shouldn't be there. Yeah, really should be like taken into consideration. Like you guys should have the same rights everyone like we do. Because I never learned that. I never learned that. Um. So yeah, just getting people more informed, especially at a young age as well. Yeah.
For me, I'll probably share the app you talked about. I forgot the name, but I'll ask you again after. And other apps to help just people in general so that they feel a bit safer. Yeah.
I think for me, I tried to research different ways in which I could help out my friends, like the aftermaths of it all, because some things I know that we can't really stop, but there's some things that we can do afterwards to kind of like help people out and make the process of it easier. Well, not even easier, but just to help them handle the whole thing.
Yeah. Thank you for everyone sharing, and I just think it's appropriate that we end it by saying, if you've been a victim of any, well, I don't like the word victim, if you've been like I don't think of it, but if any of these issues trigger you, or you've like encountered it in your life, I would urge you, please reach out or speak out. It doesn't matter whether oh my god, male or female, like please reach out, because like this isn't normal, and even though it might be normalized by society, your problems and issues are normal. So please like reach out if you've been affected. So yeah, thank you for listening everyone, and yeah, if you want to carry on the conversation, it's follow on Instagram or Facebook, Twitter, whatever, on point, I think. Yeah, so yeah, thank you.